Hello class, today we're going to continue talking about finding square roots. So in our last video we talked about those perfect squares, right? Those are those numbers that you get when you multiply one number times itself. So 2 times 2 is 4, which means 4 would be a perfect square. And because we know 2 squared is 4, we can easily find the square root of 4 because we just go backwards, right? We have to think of the number that when we multiply it by itself, it gets us 4. This little notes video is going to be about those numbers that are not perfect squares. So I know we could find the square root of 9 like we can over here, and we could find the square root of 16, but what if I asked you to find the square root of 12? 12 is not a perfect square, so I don't really know how to find the square root of 12. But we can use those other perfect squares that we do know to kind of estimate where this square root of 12 would be. So first you're going to find the perfect squares directly above and below that square root number. So in this case, the square root of 12 is going to be between the square root of 9 and the square root of 16. And then once we simplify those perfect squares by taking their square roots, we know that the square root of 9 is 3 and the square root of 16 is 4, which means the square root of 12 has to be somewhere between 3 and 4. We can also do this on a number line. So the square root of 12 falls between which two integers? So again, I know the square root of 12 is going to be between the square root of 9 and the square root of 16. If I had to guess, it would be around here somewhere. Because I know the square root of 9 is 3, and I know the square root of 16 is 4, that means the square root of 12 has to be between 3 and 4. As another example, let's try to find the square root of 8. So I know, well, let's list our perfect squares first. So I know that the square root of 1 is 1, and the square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of 9 is 3, and let's go one more, the square root of 16 is 4. So because I want the square root of 8, another way to write that could be the square root of 8. I need to know, well, where does the square root of 8 fall on this number line? Well, I know the square root of 8 is going to be between the square root of 4 and the square root of 9, which means because it falls in between those two numbers, it's also, if we keep it going, it's also going to fall between these two numbers. So the square root of 8 is somewhere between 2 and 3. I want you guys to pause the video and see if you guys can figure out this next one, the square root of 22. Well, we're going to start the same way. Square root of 1, the square root of 4, square root of 9, the square root of 16. So I know I need to go up to 22, which means my square roots here have to go past 22. Well, I know next is 25. And then we can go one more. We can go up to 36. So again, I know the square root of 1 is 1, the square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of 9 is 3. On and on and on, 4, 5, 6. So I just need to know where's the square root of 22? Well, the square root of 22 is going to fall between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25. So it's over here somewhere. Because it's in between these square roots, I also know if I kind of continue my line down, it's going to be between these two numbers. So the square root of 22 is between 4 and 5.